Moving now from our engage portion of the four-step sales process into our needs analysis, we want to talk specifically about the kinds of questions that you should be asking to help understand what needs the customer has and how you can pair that with a proposed solution. Before we get into that, I want to show you just an overall view of what an ideal sales engagement can look like. Now, I've put it on this graph here to say that as time continues to move forward, our engagement with the customer should increase. And I want you to keep that in mind because, again, as we move into a needs analysis, we should never forget that we are still trying to engage with our customer. So if I've got a scheduled meeting, first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to engage them with a perfect ACE opener. Appreciate you being here. We have 30 minutes. Does that still work for you? And then I'm going to move into a beautifully crafted end goal that's all about them. If we can agree and confirm that the end goal and our agenda makes sense to everybody, I'm going to now jump into my needs analysis, which has everything to do with asking appropriate questions. Now, when we went over our TALKER acronym, tone, ask, listen, keep notes, all of those good things, I mentioned two types of questions, open-ended and closed-ended questions. What we want to do is take the concept or the principles behind those questions, retain that, but rebrand open and closed now as situational for closed-ended questions and pain as open. The reason we're doing this, well, I can ask any number of closed-ended questions and never get anywhere with a client. I can ask any number of open-ended questions and never get anywhere with the client. What I want to do is ask very specific situational closed-ended questions. Help me understand what's in their environment, what situations they're facing, what they're going through, and then I can open them up with pain questions. Why pain? Well, go back to our sales journey. The very first point of that is awareness. We need to understand what they're going through, and they need to understand that they have this pain that's going on and there needs to be a change in their life. It's all about that emotion driving them to action. So we're going to ask pain questions. And there's actually three different kinds of pain questions that we can ask. There's a positive, a negative, and a neutral pain question. Now that might sound counterintuitive to say that there's a positive and a negative pain question, but that's the way it is. And how we decide what kind of question we're going to ask should be completely determined by the tone that we are reading from the other individual. So when we're engaging with them, not only should we pay attention to our tone, but we should pay attention to theirs, so that when we start asking pain questions, they're not unnerved and unsettled by the kinds of questions we're asking. For example, if I've already determined that the person I'm talking to, we'll say Betty, is the systems analyst in her company, and I've asked her what kind of network security programs they have in place, and she helped build it. She actually really likes it. And so she starts extolling all the virtues of this thing. Now, I know and she knows that there's gaps in it that I might be able to fill. But if I come at Betty, who's been very positive with me, with a negative pain question, she's saying, well, we built this awesome system and we love it and it's doing everything we need it to. And I come and say, well, what don't you like about that system? She's not going to feel like I'm listening. She's not going to feel engaged. She's going to shut down and become very defensive about it. So I have to read her tone. And instead, I'm going to ask a positive pain question. Something along the lines of, that sounds fantastic. It sounds like you've got some great things in place. What are some things that you really do like about that as it relates to international operations? Now that may be a weak spot in that system, and so she's going to have to think about that and say specifically, well, we like this and this, but we don't really have this part locked down, and so I just don't know. Okay, so now I've opened her up with a pain question, but in a positive way that met her where she was at. Same thing for the negative pain questions and neutral pain questions. If you're not getting a really good read on somebody, go with the neutral. Tell me a little bit about your system. Okay? Now I'm just going to make a little caveat there. I said, tell me about your system. That's not really a question, folks. So let's make sure we're asking good questions here. So what kind of system do you have in play now? Or when you analyze the workings of your system, what typically do you see as a result from it? Something along those lines that will help open them up in a neutral way. So again, open and closed-ended questions now are pain questions and situational questions. If you want some practice with this, try crafting a situation, pain, question sequence. You'll find that a simple little sequence like that will do a world of good in opening people up in a way that makes sense to them, doesn't feel pushy to you, and well, it leads us into the next series of questions that we should ask, which are impact and critical event.